Well,
Hi,
welcome
Trin.
everybody to the second episode of Let's Dads. I'm Dad, and this is also Dad.
It is I, Dad.
Today we are going to be talking about our top 10 favorite movies this year.
Favorite
Specifically horror?
scary movies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely specifically horror.
looking at my list, I pretty much only watched horror this year, and we're
Yeah.
all in my top. So
But the
my,
way, I don't
hmm?
know, the way I categorized mine was definitely with it being like my preferred horror movies, which is part of why I saw the TV Glow didn't make my list.
So what do you mean by preferred? Just like the ones you like the most?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Well, I would also say that, it being film is subjective and your preferred is objectively correct and everyone else is objectively
Everyone
wrong.
else is wrong.
Yep. Objectively, not subjectively though. So
Wrong. All wrong.
dialectically. No, not dialectically. Shut up. Anyways, I'll start us
Maybe.
off. So my 10th pick was actually I Saw the TV Glow. I
Oh.
I enjoyed it. It was a pretty good movie. Um, Going forward, I'll also say that we're going to be doing spoilers. We're not experienced casters yet and have a format that makes sense when we're talking about film. So if you
Yeah,
haven't
we have
seen
no
any of these
format.
movies that we're talking about, I would probably go watch them right now and then listen to the podcast because that's what a good a good viewer would do.
Yeah, that's how you can become our friend. No, just
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah. It's no parasocial relationship at all. Wink. Making it up. So yeah,
Friendship.
I'll start us off. My 10th pick, like I said, is I Saw the TV Glow, which is, a, I think, a pretty quaint, atmospheric drama slash horror. It's very, I'd say, light on the horror elements.
Yeah, it
Um,
definitely felt more like a drama to me,
yeah,
but
it was. I kept like getting it recommended through horror avenues, so it's like, well, maybe it is, but yeah, it didn't. I didn't think it really was, and personally, it kind of missed the mark. I get what it was trying to do, especially as a queer person who was essentially living that sort of lie for a long time of being like, well, it's too late and there's no reason to make these changes. It resonated with me, but it also just kind of felt lackluster, lack of a better term.
yeah, I mean, I'm in a very different place with my queerness, having been like, out and about, and like most of my friends are queer at this point. So for me, I was like, oh, it's kind of like baby queer movie for me.
Yeah, it does have that for sure.
But I
Um,
definitely like I see the value in it. The production was really great. The acting was
yeah, it was really good
phenomenal.
as well. It was an interesting story too. Like it felt like it would have been, I mean, like a believable sort of history isn't the right term. What am I looking for?
Here we go. We're already got to switch out AirPods. Oh boy.
It's okay.
Prepare
I'm
for
gonna
technical
I'm gonna
difficulties.
cut this part too because I'm lost in my words.
You're bumbling.
I'm bumbling. Yeah, it felt like it could exist in our reality. Like it feels like, it's like two queer kids who grew up watching something like Buffy the Vampire Slayer mixed with like Goosebumps.
Yeah, that's I would say definitely seems to be kind of the vibe. Um, definitely. I really liked. I like the characters for the most part. I really like the main character, Owen.
Yeah, Owen is great. I like both of them.
Yeah.
It's really funny. I forget the lesbian best friend's name now, but I went to school with someone who's very much like her and actually looked like her, had the same sort of like orangish blonde highlights in her hair in grade 9. I was like, oh, this is
I think I might
hitting
actually
close
know
to
who you're
home.
talking about.
That's funny. Yeah, it felt familiar, but it just honestly it's a little boring. It didn't feel like a lot was happening, and then it was the end of the movie. I was like, oh, well, there it is. But yeah, I would say overall enjoyable, better than some of the movies we watched this year.
Yes.
That I'll
Yeah.
do dishonorable mentions later, which is a shame because I liked one of the movies I'll be shitting on, but something about it really put me off. So what was on yours? What was number 10 for you?
My number 10 was Heretic.
Fair? Yeah, Heretic.
I liked it. I thought it was fun. Um, I haven't like seen. I don't think I've seen Hugh Grant in anything in a while.
Yeah,
And
he's been taking weird roles since like, his romantic comedy days. Like I think the last big thing I remember seeing him in, or not that I watched it, but was Willy Wonka with Timothy Chalamet, where
yeah,
he
yeah,
played
that's the
an
last
Oompa
thing.
Loompa.
And
So
like
it's
we could the word on the street was that he didn't particularly. Oh, hey there, I see you.
hi. Wow, you're doing great work in there.
Yeah, from what the word on the street was that he didn't particularly enjoy that role. Um,
No, and I wouldn't imagine he would either.
no, yeah, it kind of there's something about remakes of the classics that just
Well, and
uh,
especially when it's like not a remake of a remake, but we've already had a remake from Tim Burton, which wasn't great, but I mean I haven't seen the Chalamet Wonka, and I've heard
I haven't
just good
heard
things.
anything about it.
I've heard good and bad.
Oh,
It
okay.
just seems like I remember from the trailers, it just seemed like I don't know, Chalamet was a bad pick for Wonka, but it seems to be going for a different vibe than what the first two movies were, and is kind of harkening back to the Roald Dahl story, which makes Charlie and the Chocolate Factory a little more like of a quaint story, even though Roald Dahl did not shy away from his uh, his brutal stories. But that was one of the reasons I think,
Disdain for children
yeah,
and
disdain for children.
enjoyment of their bloody ends. Yeah.
Like from what I remember, Roald Dahl hated Gene Wilder's performance because he made Willy Wonka seem cruel. At least that's from my recollection. I could be totally wrong, but if I'm remembering correctly, yeah.
Interesting. I would have thought it would have been like the other way around, but I
Yeah, I
haven't
get, it's
read
like a
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory in ages.
yeah, me neither. It's been a long time. It's kind
I
of
don't
similar to,
remember the
like how
source material.
Stephen King doesn't like pretty much any of the adaptations of his films that were not made by him, especially The Shining, where it's about a scary hotel. It's not about a man, which I think is Kubrick's version is a lot better than Scary Hotel.
Yeah, there's definitely well, I don't know, a lot more going on, I guess, in the Kubrick version.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually
There's
I had
Hey.
I had Heretic on my list, and then I was like, I think I like TV Glow a little more, even though it's hard to consider it if it is a horror, which a lot
Yeah,
of
and this
lists
is what
do.
I meant by like I define my list specifically as horror movies because when it came down, I also was deciding between those two, and I was like, well, which one is the better horror movie?
Yeah, okay, yeah,
And
then I'd probably agree that
I
it would be in my
had to
10th
say that
position.
Heretic was the better horror movie, but
Yeah, I would agree. It was very tense. It was a really good movie. I think for what it was good but average, if that makes sense.
yeah, it didn't really like push the boundaries on anything.
No, like
It
we've
was
seen
it was
similar
kind of
movies.
like fun, a bit of fun horror.
Yeah, like
Like
it was a kind of a novel concept. Like essentially, like uh, as uh, an
Reddit
antisocial
atheist.
Reddit atheist, yeah, gets to do what he finally has been dreaming of with these door knockers, which it seemed like
Clubs.
he'd been doing for quite a while from his prophets, as he called them.
Yeah. Oh God.
And
Yeah, so
yeah, just some like
definitely.
go ahead.
Um, definitely almost had a bit of like barbarian in it.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. It's like if Jigsaw was in the Barbarian universe.
Yeah,
Like a lot of it was like,
yeah,
hmm, yes, I knew you were going to do just this thing, and that's why I've predicted your move. But also, yeah, it's like this weird, like I don't know, just like almost uncanny kind of reality.
yeah.
And yeah, has
Yeah,
like
well, the
some
fact
very
that
good,
the guy's like turned his house into like a trap house is
yeah,
like a friggin' mousetrap game board is pretty wild.
yeah. Like the house design is really interesting. It really felt like you were in, yeah, some sort of maze. Like he had his little pieces that he's running through his miniatures. But yeah,
Yeah,
I like the comedy of the movie especially. It did a good job of making not Hugh Grant feel relatable, but like kind of human. Like when he's doing like the weird Jar Jar Binks impression.
oh my
Um,
gosh. Yeah.
and he starts just singing "Creep" by Radiohead, and then finishes it by meowing. Like
Yeah.
it's just
Oh my
like,
god,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, dude, whatever, sure, why not?
Yeah, it was a very enjoyable I would say one of Hugh Grant's more enjoyable characters.
Yeah, I would say so. I liked that character better than most of his sort of like rom-com heyday characters because it felt like he had more personality. It wasn't just like dreamy British man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like, I feel like I mean I'm always up for another entrant into the uh old dudes in Hollywood who are kind of being letting their weirdness fly these
Yeah,
days. Sort of the Willem Dafoe brand of. I mean, he's always been a bit of a weirdo, but um, yeah, kind of that sort of
yeah,
shift
breaking into
away
different
from
roles exactly.
shift away from just like you know. I think a lot of actors tend to like as they get older take like more like Snoop Dogg they take roles that they maybe wouldn't have earlier in their career because it's like easy money or whatever.
Yeah, or yeah, just like they have a better brand image for themselves or some sort of like heightened ego. Like it's a strange example, but The Rock apparently has a thing in his contracts where he's not allowed to like be a bad guy or die, and it kind of makes him this like one dimensional. Like that is The Rock in the Rock movie, where whereas like it doesn't feel like he's an actor. Like even I forget his actual name. I think it's I mean his wrestler's name is Batista. I forget his actual name, but he turned into a very good actor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. Something. He was in Guardians of the Galaxy. Like a few. He was in. I think it was another Shyamalan movie where it was like a proposition of the end of the world, and they had to like kill this gay couple or something. It was really good. Totally forget what it's called, but it was a fun movie, even for a
The
Shyamalan venture.
actor whose
Which,
name you can't remember
well, I remember his
in
wrestling name.
movie.
Okay, I don't remember. I don't remember what the names of the actors who played the two female leads in Heretic, but I still enjoyed them. I thought they did a great job.
Oh yeah, no,
I'm
no,
just
I
bad with
know.
names.
I'm not.
I'm
I'm
being
not
razzed. I'm
actually
being
saying
razzed.
anything.
Stop it.
I'm
Stop
just
it.
ribbing. I'm just ribbing.
Ooh, I found diamond.
Diamond. It's always a
Diamond.
good day when you
Diamond.
find diamond. Diamond. I found diamond. Oh, diamond.
Wait, did I talk
Right,
about
getting a little
my
too
number
weird with
10?
it over here.
I don't know if I did. I think I just skipped. No, yeah, TV Glow is my 10. I forgot on my list here. I'd actually I swapped what my number 9 was, and I put it as number 10 earlier. But my number 9 was Maxine, the third
Oh,
in
okay.
the Ty West trilogy with Mia Goth. I liked it. It was like in the same sort of vein as TV Glow, where like I was kind of expecting more because a lot of people, didn't like X, which I thought X was a pretty great movie.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, Pearl's pretty good, and I thought Pearl was pretty much perfect. And then
Yeah,
a
I
bunch
thought
of
Pearl was the
people,
best for sure.
yeah, it was so good. It's kind of one of my honorable mentions because I didn't see it till this year. But
Right,
I
right.
digress. Yeah, I don't know. It just like a lot of people kind of hyped up Maxine. And it was very like differing opinions on. It seems like every Ty West movie you hear a lot of like, oh well, this is dog shit, or no, it's really good. But I felt like Maxine kind of just hit the middle. Like it was clearly trying to do this sort of Jalo, also slash like 80s horror retro. Remember when movie,
Yeah,
and it didn't really hit the mark for me. I like the practical effects, I love Mia Goth's acting, but it just felt a little flat.
yeah, yeah. That makes sense.
Do you have any thoughts on it?
Uh, Maxine was a little higher up in my list, but
Okay, we'll talk about it later then.
uh,
What was your number 9?
my number 9 was this is gonna make some people mad, but The Substance.
Really? The Substance is your number 9. Interesting.
Yeah, I just really felt like I had already seen other movies um, that accomplished the same, concept better, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can totally
Um,
get that.
it had definitely like great body horror, lots of uh, the acting was all good. The characters were believable.
Yeah, and like, it's kind of set in this almost like satirical lens of LA. Like the main character, played by Demi Moore, is supposed to be like an aged out star who has this sort of like washed up show that she's now aged out of as well, but it's an aerobics thing that's apparently one of the like largest shows in the world, or at least in like syndicated American television, but it's set in like modern times, at least it seems. And yeah,
Yeah,
just like if you think about the movie from you know uh like a Cinnamon Sins lens, where it's like this has to be realistic, it doesn't make sense, because you're like, this, okay, why is this the her claim to fame, and
yeah.
then like
Well, like
making a doppelganger, essentially, that her like biggest motivations are to be famous, but instead of like, oh no, not the lava, but instead of like becoming an actor, just goes and takes the role of the aerobic studio again, like, all
yeah,
right. And yeah, I agree, like uh Substance was a little high on my list, but it was definitely like not top tier. I liked it. There was a lot of really fun things about the movie, especially the effects. I'm a sucker for practical effects and fun special effects, which we got a lot of really good stuff this year for that. But yeah, it
yeah,
felt like we'd seen it before, and uh, there was just a few things in the movie that just kind of came off as, I don't know, disingenuous, not genuine in my opinion. Like in the third act, when uh, the doppelganger tries to doppelgang and makes this disgusting mutant, it like flashes like giant green letters on screens, like El Monstro or something. I was like, what is, okay.
yeah. What? Yeah, I feel like there was kind of a lot going on, and not all of everything that going on was necessary.
Hmm.
And then, like, there were other things where, like, there could have been slightly more explanation around, like, uh, how the body swapping out works and why it has to be done.
Yeah, it was like some things I felt like worked while they were vague, but it could have used a little more. And it would have been kind of cool, I think, if we saw more people that were using the substance.
Yeah, yeah. We only saw the one other guy.
Yeah, the one old man, which I think was probably one of the best scenes in the movie, where he's like, it's like that's where it like really hit the satire nail on the head, where like, it's like, oh, they show his birthmark, and they're like, oh, see, that's the guy, and then they do a flashback to that guy, and then he drops all of the shit on the floor, and his like substance card comes out with his number on it, and it's like, they're like, do you get it? It's him. And I was like, okay, that's
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
funny.
Like
Like, If it
There
wasn't
was a lot of
satirical, it
stuff in
felt
it
like
that was
stupid, but
like,
it wasn't.
yeah, there was a lot of stuff where they really like hit you over the head with it. Like,
Yeah. Il Monstro. I was like, uh-huh, sure.
yeah,
Some of it just, yeah, like I agree, just didn't really hit the mark.
definitely. You win some, you lose some, and that movie had a little bit of win and a little bit of lose in it.
Yeah. But yeah, that was actually my number 8, which I was gonna get to now. So
Oh, perfect.
we
What's
got
my
there.
number 8? My number 8 is Nosferatu.
Oh wow, it didn't get high marks from you, hey?
No, I mean, like, in terms of movies that I liked and movies that I'd want to watch again, there were too many things in it that made my little period piece brain get all grumpy. Some of the wardrobe choices, actually, like a lot of the wardrobe choices were really off for the era. Um, or like, certain things were like ill fitting, which is like
Yeah,
with,
like you notice
the
like when the
characters.
corsets.
Yeah, like there's stuff with the corsets were ill-fitting. There was a part where a lady was wearing what looked to be leopard print jacquard, which like leopard print. I mean, like, okay, in the Elizabethan era, you'd be more likely to see an actual leopard pelt, but like that would be reserved for people of like royal or aristocratic stations,
Yeah, like
not
they
these
had a
like
higher station, but they weren't blue bloods, and
yeah they were like they're still working class, right? Like the men worked even
yeah,
though they
they're
had
like
like
working
more
class
white collar jobs.
professionals. Yeah, like they weren't as they were high class in society, but yeah, they weren't. Yeah, they weren't blue bloods.
Yeah, so like that just like didn't make sense to me. There was another thing where like um there was a dress that had stripes on it that didn't match up, and like things like that are things that we consider to be, oh, like that's a normal error that you would just see in garments, but it's actually a product of like modern sewing machines and inattentiveness during the garment making process. Whereas like the garment making process in this era was usually like, especially for the class of people we're talking about, like white collar, they're working class, but they're certainly not poor. They would be having, you would go to a tailor and buy the fabric and then pay the tailor to sew a dress to your body, like to
Hmm.
your precise measurements. And so, like, things just, fit a certain way. And um, there were certain silhouettes that, like, that they'd be aiming to achieve. And when you're hand sewing a garment like that, you're not going to, accidentally mismatch the stripes up because you're, shit, I just let some chickens out. Well, hey boys, welcome to the world. Um, because it's a slow, steady process, and the standard of work was higher than because of this. So yeah, that just to me, I was like, no, they're not wearing, Party City, made in China, mass produced outfits here. Like,
Yeah, well, it's funny because I mean, I don't uh I don't really have the same expertise when it comes to historical clothing, but that's something that, Robert Eggers is typically really good about in all of
yeah,
his
so it
films.
was like
So
disappointing in that sense. Like, I had a certain, I guess that was it. I had a certain expectation of what Eggers' work is like going in, and
it just
on
didn't live up
both
to that.
accounts of like, pardon?
It just didn't live up to that expectation.
Yeah, on both accounts of like the clothing not being accurate, and then also like the fact that it was set in Germany, but all of the actors had British
Yeah,
accents.
that was one of the first wrinkles I had with the movie too, where I was just like, this doesn't feel right. because like yeah, like
Well,
you know his
especially when
previous movies
like
that were set in the periods, like I mean even the Northman, like some of them had Scandinavian accents from like Ethan Hawke, if I remember correctly. But yeah, like
yes, even Nicole Kidman attempted a Norse accent. You know, like
yeah, I wonder. I
it
mean,
wasn't
it
the best
maybe
thing ever.
it's it's maybe it's similar to Bram Stoker's Dracula in that sense, but that was also set in London, so I don't
Yeah.
know. I actually had it pretty up high on my list, so I think I'll leave my my accolades for it later. But I do agree. There was definitely some jarring things about the movie, I'd say. Like just felt out of place. I think the biggest thing for me, I really liked the atmosphere, the sets, and I think that especially the design for Count Orlok Nosferatu was really good.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, we went and saw it on in the theater on Boxing Day, which is December 26th for our non-colonial friends, and it
Hmm.
was insanely loud. It was like at points where like it wasn't enjoyable to watch because like I couldn't really I like, felt distracted from the atmosphere they were trying to build because the fucking vampire was screaming so loud that it made my ears hurt. And I was like, Okay, I get it." But it seems like it's a new thing too. I've noticed a few people talking about how loud movies are in the last couple of years.
Oh my goodness. Hi, Leia. Hi. Hi. What is this?
Cat interruption.
Cat interruption. Hello. Hi. You're stinky. Yeah. Your dad needs to come home and clean. Clean. Here. Why don't you come snuggle right here? Hmm? There
Did you have
you
any
go.
other thoughts on? I mean, beyond the costuming expectations for Nosferatu, is there anything you pulled out of it that you enjoyed?
Yeah, I guess because essentially what we're doing is since it's lower on my list, I'm talking about the negatives, and then when we get to your
Yeah,
listing, we'll talk about the
that's
positives.
a good way of doing it.
Oh, okay.
We're figuring out the kinks live here, chat.
Yeah, you can't do that. Sorry.
Okay. Do you need
She,
to do some
she
cat
just
policing?
she just started laughing at Moj on the bed.
No, this isn't your place to do that, Leia.
Yeah, you know better. I'm sorry, Moj. She's crazy. He's like, I'm being so nice. um, yeah, let me think. Like, there were definitely things I liked, and I'll talk about those when we get to your listing. But
Okay.
oh yeah, the last thing I guess is I also really felt that like the lead female role was written originally for Anya Taylor Joy, and I think I would have preferred to have seen her in that role.
Yeah, I agree.
Um,
I was not a
Lily
huge
Rose
fan
Depp
of.
wasn't. Yeah, she wasn't the worst actor I've ever seen, but I just wasn't. I wasn't really into
Yeah,
it.
I agree. It didn't honestly feel appropriate for the movie. Like I think it would have fit more with Bram Stoker's. Like kind of felt like she was doing a bit of a Winona.
Yeah,
It just yeah, it didn't hit for me. So was that
yeah. I feel like Anya would have given us a better performance, but ultimately, like the character was conveyed reasonably enough that I understood what was going on,
mhm.
and everything made sense. So yeah, that would be that. That's pretty much all the negative stuff I have to say about that.
Well, we I think are on number seven now?
Seven.
Seven?
Yeah.
Yeah, I made some last minute changes to my list here and I'm all jumbled up. But my pick for number seven was Oddity,
Oh, okay.
which yeah, was a really fun, very tense movie surrounding, you know, a tragic event that happens in this partially refurbished fort and turns into this like fun fun like almost like witch movie because the the main protagonist is the twin of the deceased and she is like an oddity collector, but also her mother was at least friends with a witch. It seemed like an Irish witch. Or
Yeah,
Scottish, I think it was
something like
Irish.
that.
Yeah, and it seemed like herself was a witch as well, or maybe even a Jedi Master from oh she's
Yeah.
could clearly like sense that the trap door is open, but took the leap anyways to be a little bit of everywheres.
Yes. Yeah, she went a little bit of everywhere. Yeah, I liked Oddity a lot.
It was cool. It had really good jump scares. I don't remember the last time I watched a movie, especially like a more modern one, that like the jump scares actually made my blood run cold. And I think there was at least three of them in the movie. Like it did a really good job of building suspense. It was all around a pretty good movie. There's just a lot this year that I actually quite enjoyed. So I put it lower down than I thought I was going to actually.
Yeah, it was definitely really good. I really liked the acting from. I don't really know any of the actors' names, but
Yeah.
everyone was great. I found all of the characters to be very believable, and uh, it was like a bit of a. If I'm remembering correctly, there was some like kind of fun whodunit vibes at certain points.
Yeah, they were, it's a mystery to who actually killed the wife, if it was, this crazy man that shows up on her door warning her of something bad going to happen, which I mean, if you've watched enough of these movies, you know it's not going to be him because he's the most obvious pick and he's actually trying to help. But yeah, like it kind of make it later like, oh, it's probably the husband, but you would I was a little surprised that it was like also involved the other guy they set up as like the very obvious evil dude who worked at the asylum, but like he
Yeah,
was essentially the enforcer, and also turns out that he was a patient himself there. So I was like, oh, that's a fun little twist.
yeah.
Kind of adds to why he'd be chill with killing a doctor's wife as being an orderly. And the yes, the sense of like kind of like control and egotism that the head doctor had was very relatable to most doctors I met. I was like, yep, this feels like a realistic doctor character.
Yeah, I've met a doctor or two like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and like it was subtle. Like it seemed like the movie had a pretty low budget, but they worked well with it. And it was all filmed in I think only two locations from what I remember. There was some shots of the asylum and then the house.
Ooh, yeah, definitely. The house I thought was really cool from
It was
just the
creepy too.
perspective of like seeing how a like really old house can
Yeah, like
be
essentially a
from an
fort.
interior decorating perspective. I was like, ooh, look at that.
Yeah, and it also like I think it played really well into the suspense, like as we're building up to the murder of the wife. Like
Yeah.
you know someone else is in the house, but you don't know where they are. They could be anywhere. There's all these dark corners. It was really well done.
Mhm. 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 Lots of fun.
So it was your seven.
My seven was Maxine,
Oh, nice.
which seven is kind of. I was like, this is good. It's kind of what I expected.
Yeah.
There was nudity. There was Mia Goth screaming. There was lots of fetishistic stuff.
Yeah, I think that was the
It
biggest
was
gripe for me was like you can clearly tell Ty West has some perverted fantasies that he wanted to like eke into his movies, and this one just felt like unabashedly the whole thing was just that.
yeah, kind of like if Quentin Tarantino made a movie where all the characters were feet.
Yeah, yeah, it's like Ty West Kill Bill, but not as good. Which I haven't seen Kill Bill in a while, but it probably still holds up.
Yeah,
I
I'm
used to
pretty
be
sure
I
the
used to be a
last time I
Tarantino
watched
head,
it,
but
I was like, this still goes. This still rips.
yeah, I can see why it got to seven. It's definitely a good movie. It's solid. That I can't remember exactly my rating on Letterboxd I gave it, but it wasn't bad. Like it was decent, but yeah,
Yeah.
it missed the mark for me, especially compared to X and especially Pearl. All these three movies are connected into each other, which is an interesting concept, especially I think how Pearl and X are connected because X coming out first and then giving the backstory to Pearl was really cool. And I
Hmm.
was blessed enough to not see X until after I watched Pearl, so it felt more satisfying than I think a lot of people with the initial watches, at least from the perspective I've seen of from hearing from other people that uh, didn't really like X, but then after going back from seeing Pearl, they liked it more.
Yeah, that was exactly my experience. I didn't love it the first time I watched it, and then um, I saw it again after watching Pearl and was like, "Oh, I know who all these characters are now."
Yeah,
So
especially the husband, because you really don't see much of him in Pearl. You see like an image of him going off to war, and then him coming back to Pearl's mess, as you could
yeah,
say.
what's his name? Harold. Harold.
Howard. Howard?
Howard.
Yeah.
Howard.
Howard.
Amazing. Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I loved the whole trilogy, but I think that Pearl was definitely my favorite.
Yeah, I would say the weakest of the three was definitely Maxine. But yeah, it had some fun. It had some like, I for me I think it didn't hit the mark too because it felt like it was just trying to be like an 80s nostalgia movie. Like, dude, remember Satan? Remember like remember this?
Satan.
And it was like it did a little like I think over the top because if you watch 80s movies, they don't have this like bisexual lighting neon aesthetic, but that's sort of like the way we've remembered them and how it gets interpreted a lot in movies nowadays. And it just I was like,
Yeah,
I'm tired of it.
we
Like,
can blame. I think we can blame Stranger Things
yeah,
for a lot of
Stranger
that.
Things. It was it's just I've seen enough of that, and it was just kind of tiring.
We're tired of the '80s. Move on.
But yeah, overall good movie. I really like the practical effects, like when the dude gets his nuts stomped on and they explode
Yeah,
like they're meat grapes, and the shotgun to the head was was really satisfying. Yeah, like like because I'd say it like as a horror movie, it was like it's okay, but as an action movie, it was like that was a great action movie.
yeah, that is actually a good way to put it. It definitely does stand up as an action movie.
Um, Now on to number six. You can start this time. What was your number six?
My number six was stop motion.
Oh, well, that is very lucky because mine was also stop motion.
Hey! Yeah,
This one I really liked. It
stop
was really
motion
cool.
was good. I I I obviously loved the stop motion.
Yeah, it was also like a really good movie about mental illness. I think they handled the main character having I'm not sure if they had it. It was just sort of this like nebulous mental illness that she had, but like clearly wasn't doing well. Um,
Yeah,
it was yeah, I think they did a pretty good job of it. It felt more grounded, and yeah, the like such like a visceral feeling seeing this like stop motion happening
yes,
like in like a more grounded reality instead of it be full stop motion. It was a
yeah.
really fun movie. I think they did a really good job.
I really liked when she was making her meat puppet, and
Yeah.
it just like keeps getting more and more grotesque.
Hmm. Oh yeah, that
It's
too.
like
Like they kind
I
of
need
went
to be made out of skin.
yeah skin, and then it's meat from the fridge, and then it's like, well, that's not gonna work, so let's use rotten fox. I really like
Yeah,
too how they kind of started to do this like twist, like, oh well, is the little girl real or it's actually just her manifestation of herself, and then like they just let it all to bear like 10-20 minutes later. They're like, no, this is just her. This is
yeah,
just her avatar, and I was like, oh, that's nice. Instead of leaving it kind of open ended or leaving it for the last, they let you know right away. They're like, no, this is
Yeah.
what this means. It's like, oh, that's nice. It's refreshing. A lot of movies, leave it too long.
Yeah.
This isn't the Sixth Sense anymore. Like we need to grow up.
Yeah, grow up. Come on.
What else to
Get with
say?
the program.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah,
just
it was kind of it's at the middle of the list for a reason. It's kind of
yeah,
it
solid, but not
is
like,
very
like
good.
holy shit, this is a life-changing movie, or like I'll want to watch it again, but probably not right away, and not as much as I've seen movies like Longlegs. But yeah,
Yeah,
I'd say like especially after the body horror, like when she's fucking around in her leg, I was just like, oh, please stop. Oh
yeah. The
God.
body horror was pretty like had you gritting your teeth for sure.
Yeah, I guess that's one thing I didn't
Ah,
really touch on with the substances. They did body horror really well, like the nails falling off and shit. I was like, please don't pull your nail off.
yeah, or like the putrid sore on her back that she
Oh
just keeps like
yeah,
jamming a fucking
God.
needle into.
Or yeah, when they first open her up, like, that was good. But yeah, I think the other aspects of the movie were lackluster in that effect for
Yeah,
substance.
yeah, there were the apparently the science community is not impressed with the like simplicity of the explanation of how the substance even works.
Yeah, I mean it is supposed to be sort of this surreal satire, and it being
Yeah,
a horror. You can't expect movies to all be super realistic in that sense because it's like, I mean, with other movies
yeah, it
on
was
my
one of
list
those
further up.
movies. It was one of those movies where I kind of decided early on, like I was like, oh, this is like very much like, uh, you know, shooting the shit kind of
Yeah. Well,
thing.
and
Like
they
you
make
can
it very fucking
there's going to be
obvious.
loose ends. There's going to be stuff that doesn't make sense. There's going to be like it's a very everything exists in the uncanny valley in that movie. So
Yeah, exactly.
like
It's
don't
it's a good
expect
way to
it
put it.
to actually be real.
No, and like yeah, because like especially for the first part, it's like, well, some of these things don't make sense, like the super popular aerobic show, or just how some of the characters are portrayed. But then like they show Dennis Quaid, and it's like very clearly like a characterized version, maybe not even of producers, but like when they film him, he has like
Oh
this sort of
yeah,
like distended fisheye lens, like when he's eating the fucking shrimp. I was like, oh God, that is quite
yes,
disgusting. Or they when they meet the shareholders, and like they're all just like crowded around in this sort of bubble around her. It's like, okay, yeah, you got to suspend your disbelief, like especially when the
yeah,
fucking mutant monster happens. Like, I don't know, like, oh yeah, well actually, you can't just take a magic black or uh, what's it called, glow in the dark. Nah, what am I trying to say? Glow lights. I can't think of the name. Glow sticks. That's what they're called. Like glow stick juice, which I found kind of funny. That was
yeah,
their substance. I was like, oh, that's just glow stick juice. But yeah, it's like, I don't know.
yeah,
Like I can understand it, but also it's like, I don't know, dude. Don't take the movie too seriously.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I forgot about that character was great. He was basically the like live action version of the like Gimli producer from Smelling Friends.
So yeah, just
Like,
eating chicken nuggets.
yes,
Yeah, very much actually. They did a good job of that. I think that was my favorite character in the movie. But
in the substance. Oh, definitely.
we are not talking about the substance anymore because we have
Yeah,
to move
yeah.
on to the rest.
We gotta keep on moving. You
Just
gotta keep
it's
moving
just a little,
forward. Grow up.
yeah, grow up. Well, in that sense, my fifth pick, my number five was Cuckoo.
Oh, okay. Mine was
Uh,
Oddity,
oh, nice.
which we already talked about a little bit.
Hmm. I'd say
Um,
let's focus on Oddity, then we'll go if there's anything more you have to say before we talk about a new film we haven't talked about yet.
yeah, yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed everything about it. The premise, the acting, the characters were all good. I love movies where they do a lot with a small
A little,
budget.
yeah. Oh, those are the best horror movies, right? Like
Yes,
one of my favorite directors being Robert Eggers. His best films are when he had no budget,
yeah, definitely. Like it's
and it just
definitely
yeah, it's it works especially with horror because you don't need a lot to build tension. You just honestly need good acting and like probably one good set.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like they did a lot with a little in that movie, and I very much appreciated
Yeah,
that.
it was good. I would like to see more like it. I think that movie was released by Shudder, which is that streaming service. Which, oh, good on
Oh,
them.
okay.
They seem to be putting out some pretty good films.
Yeah, sometimes they do.
Sometimes they do. I mean, a lot of it's schlock, but that's
Yeah.
one of my favorite genre being horror. There is a lot of really shitty horror movies out there, but it's it's a great equalizer. Someone can make a horror film on their phone and it'd be award winning.
Yep.
Like you don't need a lot to get to that effect. But yeah, my fifth pick was Cuckoo. I I really liked Cuckoo. It was a really fun movie. It felt like a lot of other movies I'd seen before in the horror genre, but it was still I think a refreshing take. It kind of felt like a lot of like old Eurotrash horror films, which I think we'll watch a couple when we do our Vampire Fest because there's a couple really great Eurotrash vampires movies what's it? I wrote this one down because it was so funny. Vampiros Lesbos.
Oh, yes,
In Turkey,
amazing.
a lesbian vampire who uses an erotic nightclub to find new victims. Dot dot dot. But that is for later time.
Perfect.
Yeah, Cuckoo was interesting. It was this this story about Hunter Schafer being the black sheep in her family, going to live with her father after uh, for what they don't let or like when they don't let on for most of the movie is that it seems like she had a fight with her mother and isn't around anymore, but it actually turns out she died. But it has like just kind of bad relationship with her father because he doesn't really care about his old family. He has a new child that he loves more than his eldest, and yeah, especially coming as from a child of divorce where that was definitely the case. It really resonated with me.
Yeah, yeah, I would say it definitely hit hard on that front for sure.
And yeah, like the spookies wasn't like too high, and there were some suspenseful moments for sure. I think that was the biggest thing. It's like I forget the name of the German actor who plays the director of the facility, but he was I think the best character next to Hunter Schafer. Like he's
Yeah,
just like pure evil, and he did a really good job of conveying that.
yeah, I would have to agree. I quite liked his character.
Did Cuckoo make your list this year?
It did. It was further up though.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is there anything else I have to say about it?
yeah,
Yeah, I feel like too they kind of like it's been a while since I've seen it, probably a couple months. I'm just kind of looking over my notes here, but yeah, it seemed like in the latter half of the movie they kind of let the mystique and the mysteriousness go about the screaming creatures and
yeah,
really over explained it. And I was like, that's I don't know. It would have been better to left more of a mystery. Like there's some movies where I want them to explain more things, but I find especially in in this genre, it's better to let that sit and have these things think about instead of like, oh yeah, this is what we're doing. Here's our plan X, Y, and Z.
yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you there.
What was your fifth?
I would have to totally agree. Was my fifth was Oddity. I think I already said that.
Oh yes, yes. Sorry, you did. I forgot.
We're on to number four now.
All right. You go first again.
I for my number four chose Alien Romulus.
Wow, as did I.
Oh, nice. Hell yeah.
Yeah, Romulus is a lot of fun. I had been anticipating it for a long time. We'd made a pact with each other that we were going to first rewatch all of the original Alien movies before we watched Romulus, and I'm glad we did.
Yeah,
I mean,
all the prequels
definitely would have
and
enjoyed.
sequels.
Yeah, I would have enjoyed. Yeah, like we watched also Prometheus and Covenant as well, which kind of tangentially follow into the Alien storyline. But yeah, I'm glad we rewatched them all. It refreshed how much I liked some of them, how much I disliked some of them, and it put me in the right mood for Romulus, which I was like, I was like, yeah, it's probably gonna be good, but I was actually surprised how how good the movie was. Like it really felt like a genuine sequel to the first Alien film. It takes place, I think it's like 10 or 20 years after. It's in between the Alien and Aliens. And yeah,
Yeah, the
like
vibes were definitely very similar,
yeah,
I would
the
say,
the
to the
vibes are
first
similar,
movie.
like especially with the set and setting, like they get the technology correct. I think that was my biggest gripe with Covenant and Prometheus. Like everything's a little too high tech for like sometimes it seems like they're living in the golden age and things kind of got worse, or we're just seeing the ultra wealthy uh tech, but it felt a little too new and too shiny. And then in like Covenant, they're using like the AR platform of rifles, and it's like they're supposed to be like what 100 years in the future at least or something. I was like, I don't know if
Yeah,
they would be still using that, but yeah, they kind of fixed that in Romulus. They're like, here is the prototype to the space or the Colonial Marine rifle that they use in Aliens.
yeah, they returned to more of like a, oh my god, what is the term? Why am I struggling with this? Brain go. More of like a cyberpunk kind of rusty cyberpunk
Hmm.
vibe.
Yeah, this
Like,
decayed, this
a
like
lot
not
of
a
the
nice
stuff is
shiny
like
sci-fi.
old, it's old tech that's been cobbled together by, these people living on these colonies. I would say I mean, like, I do love David and the evil synths
Yeah,
from the other movies, but I really, really liked
Andy.
Andy
Yeah, Andy,
in
I'd say
in
is
this
the
one.
best synth. Like yeah, this it's like little autistic coded, sweet little guy. I really love. I think my favorite part was when he got the Wayland Yutani upgrade and just became an evil British person. Which like I think if any of
Yeah.
us had the spirit of Ian Holm in us, we probably would become a little scary Bilbo Baggins.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
And yeah, there's a side note. I didn't realize that Ian Holm, the original synthetic, also played Bilbo Baggins in Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah, yeah. He
Yeah,
sure as heck did.
I like saw a
He
picture
sure
of him the
did.
other day. I was like, oh wait, that's Bilbo Baggins. I was like, wow, I feel like a fool. But yeah, like
That's right.
I think that was the one of the. There's like a couple things in Romulus that I didn't really enjoy, but I think the one of them was essentially resurrecting Ian Holm as the like science synthetic, because I can't remember if Rook is the exact same synth as in the first one, or if he's just supposed to be like the same model, and they're just kind of evil. But
Yeah.
it was like I don't know this uncanny CGI weirdness. Like I don't know, it didn't work. But like I still liked the the character of this half destroyed synthetic who was still trying to pull off David's plan.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very impressive. Love him.
And yeah, like I'd say for the most part, especially the Ripley Stanton character was really fun. But some of the side characters I think were like a little too one-dimensional and cartoonish, especially the annoying British uh
Bjorn.
yeah, Bjorn. Like I was just like, okay, we get it. He sucks and he's gonna die.
Yeah. Yeah. He had me straight up yelling at the TV at points.
Yeah. Yeah,
I was
and
like,
like
"Oh my god, dude!
and
No,
the
no
pregnant girl that's
survival
like
instinct in that
yeah,
guy."
none. Like literally has this giant like space egg vagina vulva dripping acid on him, and he's just going like, and standing there and like, move. But it was
Yeah.
satisfying watching him die, and yeah, I think that was the coolest part. They did. Oh, it's time to sleep the Elantra out. Whatever the fuck they're called, the
Oh,
scary bats.
the big boys.
Oh shit, I lost my train of thought. Unfortunately, I
They
got
really
startled.
like to hang around on my staircase tower.
Hmm. Everyone does, I guess.
Can you see them?
I can see one. Oh,
There's like three, all just four, all just like vibing.
that's funny.
Oh, there they go. Like they're all just chilling around the structure.
That's funny. Yeah, I think especially the main characters in Romulus really sold it. Like, I wish I knew the actor's name who played essentially the stand-in for Ripley. Like, she was actually a smart horror character for once. Like, thought through things logically. Didn't like sometimes it get like worked up. It wasn't just like hysterical. Like
Yeah.
oh yeah, they are just everywhere. Look at the membranes. Yeah, it felt grounded. And yeah, I think that's what I was gonna say earlier was the costuming and special effects for the alien was so good. I was kind of blown away because I was expecting, this kind of more CGI jumble mess like we have been getting used to
Gotten used
these
to.
past years, especially watching like Covenant and stuff. Like they did an okay
Yeah.
job, but it's clearly, just CGI. But yeah, like when I think it was an actor coming out of the egg as the Xeno. It was so good. I was like, oh god, like actually terrifying. Like you would not want to be around when Bruce. Well, I guess not technically Bruce, but
Brucey
maybe Bruce's
baby.
sister
It's
came out of the
Brucey
pod.
baby.
And the scene where they're like the initial scene when they have the first contact with the aliens, where they're just trying to like get the station going, take out this like the motivations for how it happens too. Like they're trying to escape essentially this slave colony to live a better life, but they need cryopods, which like I don't know. I feel like probably just because in the scenario that is the main way of travel, so people aren't like ready or used to like doing long-term space travel, then have like the resources. So it's like okay, that's I guess mostly believable. But yeah, like taking out the cryo juice out of the abandoned space station and it waking up the face huggers, I think was really good. And yeah, like her, I gotta just look up the character's name. The main character's like realization
Rain.
when Rain, that's her name. When her interest was like, what the hell, this random room? And she's like, it's clearly not a fucking random room. And then, a couple minutes later, a dozen or so facehuggers wake up, which I thought it was really well done.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the only complaints I really had was, the Bjorn character, which I get it. Just sometimes there's gonna be characters you don't like.
Yeah, I mean,
Just
there's people in the world like that, and
yeah, yeah. And then we had discussed also like kind of the gamification of some of it.
yeah, like
Uh,
I was gonna get to that, like because yeah, the first half, or at least the first two acts, were like this really good, tense survival kind of horror film, like the first one. But then yeah, like especially in the last act, like we said, it felt like gamified. Like it felt like a fucking video game. Like shoot the Xenos with your autolock gun in the gravitron to make their blood spin, and then crawl through the blood through this quick time event. But it's like when like it's a cool thing, but in zero gravity, like there's a big reason on the ICC why they don't have a lot of liquid, because it will get into instruments because it just flies wherever. It doesn't centrifuge around like a walkway. I was like, sure. And then yeah, like
yeah,
flip the four switches so that the carrier will fall. Like, I don't know. That was kind of like whatever. But yeah, those I think
yeah.
the
Or
the
the
biggest
scene where
reason why it didn't hit higher for me.
the one girl winds up locked in a room with the xenomorph, and they're like, look for a key. There has to be a key somewhere in there, and it's like,
Like
why does there
why?
have to be a key somewhere in
Yeah,
there?
or like
It felt like what the your guidance buddy in a video game is
yeah,
like,
yeah. It's little pop
could
ups like
there
find
be
a
a key in
key.
this room? We should look for a key.
Yeah,
Like,
and like the one where they're like having to creep and crawl around these face huggers because they go off body temperature and sound, and it's just kind of like, okay, come on, like that's I think they should have just maybe tried and found a different route around, but like they're trying to build the tension of the pregnant girl being like, please help me, I'm about to die, and he's been like, shh,
yeah,
shush. Yeah, it worked, but yeah, kind of it missed the mark a little bit for me on that one.
yeah,
But yeah, overall, I think they did a really good job. They had the nice alien ending where also another side note, weird that they put a synth into a cryopod, but maybe it's because he was severely damaged and
yeah.
Rain thought that might save him, but I from what it seems like they are going to make a sequel to it because it did well, and they've set up, that we might have something similar to Aliens where uh, Andy doesn't make it, or there's a complication with the cryopods. My pet theory was, they didn't check any of the other cryopods. There might very well be someone who's very infected in some regard in the ship, which is also interesting because they make a callback to Prometheus
Yeah.
twice. Like he calls it the Ian Holmes character Rook calls it Prometheus Fire, and they actually show the original, or not the original, but the one engineer disease that there's like the black goop stuff. Like they
Yeah.
show the pods that David had found. So it's linking this that like David did somehow get in contact with Weyland-Yutani and shared this information instead of just kind of going rogue space Hitler on everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? We once again have to ask, why are we so obsessed with crossbreeding humans with aliens?
Yeah, that especially I think it's really funny. Well,
At this point,
Rick
I'm
had
leaning towards it is just a weird sex thing.
yeah, just a weird sex thing that Weyland-Yutani likes. I
Honestly,
like,
but think about humans. Like, what are we gonna do when we find aliens? Probably try to figure out if we can
yeah,
fuck them. Like,
find a way to fuck them. Like I'd say in Romulus, it definitely works better that like I don't know, the reasoning for making a human isn't like it is an Alien Resurrection where they're like, yeah, human birth is perfect, and then they make like an objectively worse alien that doesn't like have grabbers and evolves slower. Like that was just so stupid. But like in this one, it's like, hey, our colonies are dying. Like Weyland-Yutani as a mega corporation is suffering, and they are like Rook kind of took it upon himself. He's like, we'll find a way to like genetically modify the good parts of the Xeno that can, survive the vacuum of space and shit, and crossbreed that into humans. So it's like, okay, that kind of makes sense. And I think it was done a
yeah,
bit
it made
better.
the most sense out of anything we've seen so far.
Yeah, it was interesting that like it kind of came out looking more like an engineer, but I don't know, I didn't really like the design of this human one either. It's just kind of like I don't know. I don't know if you've seen the
Yeah,
original design for the Xenomorph that H.R. Geiger did, but they kind of tried to harken back to that in Resurrection. Like the first design essentially looked what Bruce looked like, but his sort of like penis helmet, speed biker helmet, it was see through, and he had uh like a hominid skull, and
yeah,
like I think that would have been a better look to go for, like something that was more Xenomorph, and not like I don't know this like giant pink baby.
yeah. They're like, and of course it's fleshy because it's part human.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it was like overall, I would say
When
it's
like,
probably the best sequel.
yeah, when like that also doesn't make much sense because like, oh, of course it's fleshy, it's part human. And it's like, well, if we were like trying to selectively breed something that
Yeah,
would
to make
improve
like
humans,
perfect colonies.
fleshiness would not be a trait that
Yeah,
we would be keeping.
but it's hard to say that. It seems like maybe I forget her name, but yeah, the
Being
pregnant
fleshy
lady.
makes us super vulnerable to
Yeah,
like literally everything. Like,
but maybe that was the first one, right?
yeah,
It seemed like the last part of the project was him, yeah, making the black mystery goo that it could stamp into people, which I thought was also it was funny that they were like initially gonna be like, oh yeah, we should just stick this mystery needle into this like ailing pregnant lady, even though we don't trust this evil little synth. But they're like, ah, let's do it anyways. Which,
yeah.
yeah, I was kind of like, whatever. But
All
it
right,
wasn't Rain.
okay.
Rain was then apprehensive. She's like, hold on, maybe we shouldn't do this. But I think it worked in general. But yeah, it seemed like she was probably the first one to give birth to an alien hybrid. So maybe they hadn't got it right. Like he said that was the whole motivation for Rick helping them and get off the station was he wanted to see his work completed essentially, and he wasn't able
Gosh
to.
darn insane mad scientist. Once again,
Yeah,
Ridley Scott hates scientists.
yeah. But especially if you watch like Prometheus and Covenant, he's like, these are stupid idiots. They only know they're only smart in one aspect. But yeah, it was a good movie all around. I just wish it had kept up more with like the tension and the horror aspect of itself and of the first movie. That's my favorite aspects of those movies where, yeah, the last act, I was like, okay, it's a little too much like James Cameron Aliens, which, yeah, upon rewatch, I wasn't a huge fan of actually. I liked it a lot when I was younger, being an action head and all that. But yeah, watching it now, I was just kind of like, I don't really give a shit about aliens. Like it felt very like the guy who made Terminator 2 writing an aliens movie.
Fancy that.
Yeah, who would have thought? Yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. It would be one of those movies I watch again semi regularly.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I'll probably watch it again for sure. You know, when the next Alien movie comes out, we have to do our full rewatch once again.
Yeah, I have to watch all 7 films now, I think, right?
Oh my
Yeah.
god. I think
So
we
it's
can definitely cut some of them out. I don't think I need to rewatch Aliens ever again.
yeah, I'll watch Alien 3. I actually I really enjoyed the David Fincher take on aliens more or on Alien more than I did James Cameron, even though most people hate the movie. I
Oh yeah, I think Alien 3 is great.
And yeah, Resurrection is just objectively bad. Joss Whedon is a blight on humanity, and you can really tell in that movie, like you can feel the weird like Marvelification Joss Whedon effect on things. Like it feels like a fucking comic book, and it's so like unrealistic. Like that just happened. Whoa, look at this character. Like I was just like, I don't care. Please stop.
Hey. Please, for the love of God.
But this isn't an Alien Resurrection podcast yet. This is
Yeah, we'll see.
this is a top 10, and so yeah, those are number 4. My third pick of the top 10, my number 3 bronze medal went to The First Omen.
Nice.
I
That was
thought,
my number 2 pick.
oh nice, yeah, I thought they did an amazing job with The First Omen. I hadn't actually
Yeah.
seen The Omen. I think I might have watched it when I was really young, but I didn't remember it all. So we watched that one after, right? I think we watched The First
Yes.
Omen. And it was like good context because The Omen, yeah, the one that's in 76, I think it was. It's a really good movie. Very like solid. You can see why a lot of Catholic horror takes its notes from it. But The
Oh
First
yeah.
Omen was like a really refreshing like take on the whole sort of especially like Catholic horror genre or religious horror in general. Like it was really visceral, and it wasn't just sort of this like subtle like, oh, evil is everywhere, but it was right in your face. Like
Yeah.
when Italian Mia Goth just like lit herself on fire. I was like, oh shit, this movie's gonna do some stuff, isn't it? And it
Yeah.
really did. Like it in the same sense of Long Legs. It has this overwhelming sense of dread and helplessness. Like no, whatever they have planned for like the Antichrist coming and Satan, like it's gonna happen. There's nothing we can do about it. And it's
Yeah.
it's good to see. I guess his name's Ralph Ineson. Yeah, Ralph Ineson. He played the. I think he's supposed to just be an Irish priest. He's eaten well this year. He did a pretty good job in that. I think he did a better job of it, like his character than in this film in The First Omen than he did in Nosferatu. Even though I still like seeing him in that, but yeah, so
Yeah.
I found his like it just seemed like yeah a lot of the casting in Nosferatu was just not correct. But yeah, we're talking about The First Omen here.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, actually, the one thing I will say about Nosferatu is that we might have had to have, tolerate Lily Rose Depp instead of Anya Taylor-Joy, but we also didn't have to stomach Harry Styles as
Yeah.
the originally casted Thomas.
Yeah, Nicholas
Thomas?
Hoult did a better job. Yeah, Thomas. But we'll get to
Yeah,
that in a
Nicholas
second.
Hoult is great. I love. He's always good.
Well, we can fawn over how good Nosferatu was after talking about The First Omen.
After my number 3 pick, which is Cuckoo.
Oh, I was gonna say I'm not done talking about The Omen.
Oh, okay. Keep talking about the Omen.
We didn't really talk about it too much. Yeah, I like it I would say is probably one of the best like prequels to a legacy movie we've ever received. Like it didn't feel like a cash grab or schlocky.
Yeah.
It was really good, and the ending scene. I mean, not like the epilogue, but the climax was very entertaining. Seeing the beast.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the Catholic blood in my body that really was really enthralled by all the imagery. But the all around feel of the movie really resonated with me. I really liked it.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
Anywho, Cuckoo, Cuckoo,
Coo coo coo. Coo coo
Cuckoo.
coo.
So Cuckoo is your number three, hey?
Yeah, I felt like it did what it set out to do. It was a fun Eurotrash romp. Um, Definitely a lot of very like poignant stuff for, like you said, people who were maybe not the the favorite member of their
Yeah,
household or
yeah.
of their
The
family.
the cast off from the previous relationship. I think
Yes.
a lot of older siblings, especially to people of half siblings and of shattered marriages, will really resonate with
Yeah,
the
I was
character.
gonna say it'll go over well with the millennial crowd. I think
Yeah,
the generation of divorce.
and yeah, like
uh,
especially like her actions and motivations, because I think she was supposed to be like 18 or 19 in the movie. Winter
yeah,
Schaefer's character, like it felt very like um it was something I would have been like in my late teenage years, like very still mature, but like it's like dealing with the death of her mother and having to move to a foreign country and live with like people that don't like her.
yeah, yeah. I think it was Cuckoo that originally when I watched it, I said that like a lot of my criticism for the movie throughout it was like like these characters are doing things, or this character's doing things that are like irrational and don't make sense. But then I was like, well, the character is a teenager, so like
Yeah,
doing irrational, nonsensical things is kind of in that wheelhouse. And
yeah,
like,
especially like with
in
the
a sense, I
trauma.
do feel like that's a bit of a cop out for
Yeah,
a writer to be like, oh, I can just make this character a teenager, and then like nothing they do has to make sense.
yeah,
But I thought it was well done, and that they didn't like take too much advantage of that.
yeah, I agree. And yes, especially like the aesthetic of the movie was really nice. Like it's refreshing having this kind of more European feel to a movie in the modern era, because I feel like there's been a wider divide in between the sort of like English speaking movies. I mean, it was an English movie, but there's made by I believe a German director as well. It felt like a European movie, which is refreshing in 2024.
Yes. Yeah, it's nice to not just have like the constant barrage of American content.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like there's entire like schools of film, such as like the what's it, Italian satanic panic movies of
yeah,
of the 80s that are like it's the whole thing, or like French extreme horror that usually has like
yeah.
tons of gore.
I was gonna say
Uh,
actually, I kind of forgot how many like French fucked up French movies there have been in the last like 10 years.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
like
there's a lot.
murders and shit. Like okay, guys, we get it. You hate women and love God.
um, yeah, it's nice to step off the American perspective every now and then
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
see
there's
what.
a couple Spanish speaking horror movies on my to watch list this year that I unfortunately didn't get to. So yeah, maybe you'll see us talking about those eventually.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry, big yawn.
Is there any other thoughts on Cuckoo?
No, I actually don't have a lot of thoughts on it. I just liked it.
Yeah, it was a good one, and it's been like a few months since we've seen it as well, but definitely worth a watch. Yeah, especially I love seeing tell a trans girl in a great role. I'm glad we're seeing, more stuff from Hunter Schafer. She's an amazing actor. So
Yeah, yeah, it's nice to see post Euphoria Hunter Schafer out there getting it,
yeah, exactly.
getting
Getting that
good
bag.
roles and
Yeah, it's funny.
making me.
I think it was from Cuckoo that Hideo Kojima liked it so much that he like called Hunter Schafer and like had a conference call with her. So maybe she'll be in a future Kojima role.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Ah, we love our Kojima.
Such a such a funny guy.
He is quite the guy.
All
Well, we'll
right.
allow him to continue existing. He
Yeah,
can stay.
he's one of the good ones.
Yeah, he's contributing. Number
Well, I think we're on to number two now. Hey.
two. My number two was The First Omen.
Mm, yeah, that's a definitely a good pick for number two. It was, yeah, like, we pretty much said all that we can about it, but
Yeah,
I was really surprised how good it was, especially for being like, I guess that's another, I guess, kind of in that almost European movie sense. Like, it didn't really feel like a Hollywood movie, but in a lot of aspects it did. But yeah, it blew me out of the water. I was like, not expecting this prequel to a legacy series to be so good.
yeah. I wasn't sure what we were going to be getting ourselves into,
Hmm.
and then we watched it, and I was like, oh, that is freaking good. Like you said, there's a scene where the girl will self-immolate, and I was like, okay, all right, let's
Yeah,
go.
I was
Starting
yeah, I was
off
pleasantly surprised how good that movie was, and I really like really like how the immolation character just looks like an Italian Mia Goth. I was like, thanks. I
hot.
needed that.
Yeah, very good. Um,
And I
yeah,
forget
the
who
characters
the
were good, the
actor
effects were
was.
good, the story was good. It was a
It was,
fun rip off a classic. I haven't seen all of the Omen movies, but I believe they get a little bit off in the weeds.
yeah, they
You know,
kind
usually,
of start falling off. Oh yeah, and
yeah,
I like totally even forgot about Charles Dance, who plays the like first father who gets the back of his head sliced off. Like just
yes,
great gory imagery. They did a really good job of it. And yeah, like the main character, I gotta look up her name. Nell Tiger Free. She did a great job. I don't think I've seen her in anything before, but yeah, it was like
yeah,
it
she was
was
good.
really good. Like yeah, the one scene where her hair is kind of like Medusa, almost like octopus like configuration after she has
Hmm.
a demonic night. I was like, that was good. Yeah, they
Hmm.
when she when she picks up her Italian lover who clearly has no interest in her,
Yeah,
and it turns out later he has a reason why he doesn't, but just like carrying his torso around, I was like, oh girl, what are you doing?
yeah, that was incredible when she quote unquote saves him.
Yeah, yeah, all around great. I don't think there's really anything in that movie that I was like, I don't know about that. I don't like this, but yes.
Yeah, pretty much everything was like spot on for me.
Hmm. Yeah,
I
well,
didn't get bored at any point.
nope.
It was fun. It was spooky. It was scary. There were good spooks, good scares.
That's a good way to put it. All right, well, I think have anything else to say about it?
No, I think we're ready to move on to number one. I
Well,
have a feeling we picked the same one.
gotta talk about my number two
Oh
first,
yeah,
buddy.
what's your number two?
My number two, buddy. Listen up, buddy. My number
What's
two
your number
was Nosferatu.
two? Aha.
Was highly anticipating, expecting this movie for a long time when I heard that Robert Eggers was, working on another interpretation of the classic Dracula story. Which it's funny because how it went down. I think the director's name is Murnau. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Who made Nosferatu in the 20s? Couldn't get the access rights to Bram Stoker's Dracula, so he just remade it with different names. And it became, a cultural sensation, and that's why we have two different interpretations of it. One from Werner Herzog, and now the latest from Robert Eggers. And yeah, like uh, I agree. I think with most of your points as to why you didn't like it. there's some stuff that like kind of, it's really unbelievable and kind of pulls you out of the movie. But in my opinion, especially in the modern era of vampire movies, it was really good. Like there's not a whole lot that I can say beyond what we said earlier that could dissuade me from liking it.
Yeah.
It was like super atmospheric. The set and setting was honestly perfect. Everyone, in my opinion, except for uh, Lily Rose Depp, was just so great. Yes, especially like, yeah, Ralph Ineson felt like a little underused, um, but Nicholas Hoult and Willem Dafoe especially just crushed it. They did such a good job. I really want to watch it again outside of a theater because, yeah, like we said earlier, when one saw it, it was like there's parts of the movie that like made my ears hurt. And I was like, this is unenjoyable. Like Bill Skarsgård actually played Count Orlok and did an amazing job of it. But there were scenes where he would like scream or bite something, and it was so loud where I had to like put my hands over my ears, and I got distracted
Yeah.
from the tension of the scene. And yeah, like if you've seen the original, or even if not, you've probably seen, some stills of like Nosferatu Orlok standing in the doorway or like in the corner of the room with his like big finger, or the shadow creeping. I thought was just like perfect. They just really nailed it there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I agree. They did definitely. That atmosphere and setting was absolutely incredible. Characters were good. There was an adorable cat
Yeah,
who was a phenomenal actor.
great cat acting, great rat acting.
Great, oh, incredible rat
Yeah,
acting.
I
Like
think that was
get
my
those
favorite
rats in
part
the
of the
water.
movie was like all of like Robert Eggers really likes to kind of keep his movies a little more in reality without CGI. Like it's there here and there in his more bigger budget movies, like The Northman and
Mhm.
this one, but most of it, was practical and it felt really good. I forget the name of the broker who sends Thomas to his fate in Transylvania.
Oh, that
Uh,
guy was
but I think he's supposed to be Renfield in the actual story. I forget his name in Nosferatu, but yeah, he's just phenomenal. Did a great job of being a crazy little shithead.
great. Yeah,
Yeah,
truly
and like
incredible.
I felt really immersed, and like it similarly to our number one pick, the feeling of just like dread and helplessness. Like there was a resolution, but like it felt like there's nothing you could do. It was a plague. Like it was this blight on uh Visgard or wherever they called their German city. It's like, yeah, this feels like it's gonna be the end of the world for everyone. And then luckily
Uh-huh.
uh Lily Rose Depp sacrifices herself. And I think that too, like her interaction with Nosferatu felt more like dread and inevitability, whereas in the '90s film, it felt more of just like pure lust from Winona Ryder. Even though they're like, oh, we're like meant to be together because you're my dead queen, and it's just kind of like, okay, I get it. Like this is a movie about just cucking Keanu Reeves, I guess. Whereas, yeah, I found Nosferatu like she couldn't help herself. Like she'd
Yeah.
made this pact with a demon, and he came to collect, and it was, yeah, especially Bill Skarsgård's uh, job of playing Nosferatu is so good. They actually made him a Romanian instead of just like I want to suck your blood. Ah, it's me, Bela
Yeah.
Lugosi. It's like he felt like a just sad character. Like it wasn't the Bram Stoker sort of opulent Dracula, like, oh wow, look at this lavish, exuberant life he lives, but he's lonely. It's like, no, this he's living in like a decayed castle, and he himself is like withered and like mutilated, and is, yeah, just like a ghoul. He's there just to suck the life out of everyone around that he can get his
Yeah,
hands on.
living more like what we would imagine, a monster has been chased away from all the local townspeople would be living.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
Like
that aspect too, where
much
like
more Frankenstein kind of vibe going on there.
Yeah, very, very much so. And you put it well too. I kind of didn't notice it, but that the townspeople had rituals to essentially deal with Orlok, and he was like losing a lot of his influence and power, and that's I think why he came to collect on Elma. I think that's what her name in the story is. I can't remember.
Ella?
Ella, that was who it was. But yeah, especially in like I didn't really touch on it before, but Willem Dafoe's performance in that is so fantastic. I mean, I don't think I've seen a movie where he has had a bad performance. Like, there's been some stuff where he's probably miscast, but like, holy shit, he was so good in that role. It was
Oh,
amazing.
he always brings it. Like, are you kidding me? If he could pull that out for Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, he's he,
Spider-Man. Yeah, it was.
that man can turn shit into diamonds.
I agree. Yeah, it's just if there's, I'm not a huge fan of remakes of old movies that we've already seen, but if there's one, I'd definitely like to see Being John Malkovich with Willem Dafoe.
Oh my god, that would be hilarious.
Willem.
Oh my god. Oh no. Uh,
But yeah, I
that'd
think
be incredible.
that's
I'd watch that. I'd watch the shit out of that.
I think that's all I had to say about uh
Most formato.
yeah, Eggers. I would say it's probably my least favorite of his four films he's made, but still
The old
still one of my
egg.
favorites. I'd say, it was my second favorite I saw this year. But I would say yeah, especially like Lighthouse, Witch, and Northman are all either drastically better or slightly better because I don't know. In my opinion, maybe we'll talk about it eventually, but especially the Lighthouse really holds a special place in my heart.
Oh yeah.
And
Apparently he
much
has a
like
new project he's working on called The Night. I haven't really heard
hmm,
much about it, but
interesting. I haven't heard about it
um,
at all actually.
fellow egg fans are getting excited. So I'm gonna have to
Fellow
look into
eggs.
that. Yeah, fellow eggs.
Yeah, I think it's similarly it'll be a movie I rewatch quite often. Like probably both of our first pick being Longlegs.
Yes, we both chose long legs for our first
Cuckoo,
pick. Big surprise.
cuckoo.
Big surprise. Only
Yeah,
watched
and
it
what's
like
what where do we even
more than 10
start?
times, I'm sure.
Yeah, we've collectively watched it almost 30 times, I would imagine.
We went a little long legs crazy.
Yeah.
But why
Yeah,
wouldn't you?
it's honestly in my mind a perfect film. It was, it was very what's the word? You either love it or you hate it. There's not a whole lot of like people in the middle like, yeah, it was all right. It's like from my experience talking to other people about it, like you essentially either see it as one of the best movies out there, or you just hated it for I don't know, a wide variety of reasons. I've heard some good explanations of like, oh, I don't like this movie. Um,
The things I've come across
but
most is people just saying they didn't understand it.
yeah, a lot of it is like I didn't understand it, or like the motivations for the main character are dumb because she's acting like a doll, and it's like yeah, you said it. Like I
Yeah,
think
that
maybe
falls
she's
under
supposed to
not
be a fucking
understanding it, I
doll.
would say.
Like yeah, like and I didn't pick it up on my first watch, but on like the subsequent ones, I was like, holy shit, she she has this really uncanny way of existing in the Longlegs universe. And yeah, it's because her mommy made a pact with the messenger for Satan to not have to sacrifice her child, and essentially was then possessed by this like satanic doll. And yeah, it was really good because yeah, it first comes off and starts out as almost like a true crime thriller, like Silence of the Lambs, but then there's
Yeah,
just this subtle buildup of like like extreme dread and helplessness. Like it's you get the little flashes of a horned goat, and things like that, the flashes of Longlegs' face, and you can just tell
yeah,
that like this has been going on. I think there's actually a website that has a little bit of a Longlegs ARG called what's it called? The
birthday murders.
Birthday Murders. Thank you. And I think they started in like the 60s. Like this shit's been going on for like 30 fucking years, and they
Yeah,
do not
because
know how
like
to
you're
deal with it.
like I guess what you're like because I guess what you're kind of there's not a lot to figure out in the movie. It's very much lays it all on the table right from the get go
Yeah.
of like here's what this guy is, here's what he's doing, and then you just have to kind of watch it as it happens.
Hmm.
Um, uh, but oh crap, what was I gonna say? The one thing I guess that you sort of don't don't realize right away is whether we're dealing with um, a crazy guy who thinks he's Satan's servant and is
Yeah.
just a human doing murders, or like actual occult
Yeah.
forces.
Actual paranormal, and not paranormal, but yeah, demonic forces. And yeah, turns out you are. And I think, yeah, just that, like everything in the movie is very subtle. Some things like it was like obviously subtle, like with Harker's family being the last family. And I've seen a lot of people being like, well, he should have known, and like, duh. But it's also like, dude, he's a fucking cop. Like, have you ever met a cop, dude? They're like, oh yeah, well, that's not gonna happen to my family. And we stopped the
Yeah,
guy. What do you mean? And it's like, like Lee says, like, or not, yeah, not Harker. He has a different name that also starts with an H. But yeah, the boss boy. But yeah, Harker says to him like, there's an accomplice, and he's like, we got the guy. What do you mean?
yeah,
And oh yeah, the mother's performance was just fantastic.
yeah. The mother was incredible. She was great. Just like very unsettling and like a little unhinged. You can tell there's some mental health problems going on. She's
Yeah,
living in a hoard. Like she's a hoarder. Her house is sketchy,
yeah,
and like
living in disrepair.
yeah, and like a lot of like I don't know. As I've said to you before, like a lot of what people don't seem to like a lot of people seem to miss in the movie is this one scene of exposition when they're interviewing Longlegs, Nick Cage's character, and he's like explaining that he's been kind of controlling Harker in a sense, and says outright that he showed her what to see and what not to see.
Mm-hmm.
That is really, I thought that was really expressed by like the fact that this guy's been living in her basement for her whole life,
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's that
and
because it
like
comes
she
off as
just
like
never
poetic, right?
thought to like go downstairs, and like there's
Yeah,
even a
because she
scene where
wasn't
she's
allowed.
like kind of looking at the basement door but like decides not to go down,
Yeah, because she's like
and it's
essentially
like
told not to.
yeah, like she's basically just a puppet.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, they show that especially well when she first meets. I gotta look up the name of the her boss. But like when she first goes to his house, Carter, that's his name. When she first
Right.
goes to Carter's house and meets the little girl, and she's like just sitting on her bed with her, and just like, yeah, her movements are very like stiff and wooden, but like a doll. They're not like Roger Moore and James Bond, where it's like, okay, dude, we get it, you're a bad actor, but like I'd say the inverse. Like she's a really good actor and was able to essentially pull off being like a possessed doll or a puppet to Satan. And yeah, like
Yeah,
I don't know,
exactly.
just everything. Like there's so many memorable lines. It's just all so subtle. Like when he's like, I'll be a little bit everywheres, and then
Yeah.
she, er, eh, yeah, when Nick Cage explodes his face off, the couple scenes after when Harker is confronting her mother, he's like, "Oh, you killed him. Now he's everywhere." And it's like, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah.
Like he was like, yes, a messenger to Satan, but probably also a little more as well. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, he was essentially the vessel for something, and now that the
yeah,
vessel's been destroyed, whatever was being contained in it is
yeah, he's like
it's
an
it's out.
ampule.
It's
He's like
gotten
an
out.
yeah, exactly. Like he's an ampule for Satan, and you broke it, and all the gas got out.
Yeah, exactly. Or, it's like when the you suck all the cryo juice out of the space station and then the face huggers get out.
Yeah, Oh yeah,
They
and that
go a
was
little
like
bit of everywhere.
I think that was yeah, to like one thing that people I can see it as like a legitimate grievance what they had with long legs is they got like really wrapped into the marketing and the marketing for long legs was phenomenal, but it kind of passed me by and as I just wasn't really in the mood for films at the time and I, it seemed like a lot of people overhyped the movie for themselves because I don't know, some of the marketing in my opinion was a little grandiose. So like the uh they're like Micah Monroe, her heart rate hit 176 after first seeing Nick Cage's actor makeup. But then you see like what long legs look like. And it's like it's creepy, but it's not like holy shit, my heart's gonna drop out of my chest. But from how I see that was like maybe she was, you know, more in sort of a method acting thing, and it from my remembrance of the movie, the first time, not a creeper. Um, the first time
Yeah,
she meets Longlegs is when he's been captured. Like it seemed like you know probably from Micah's perspective, if she's like really trying to get immersed in the role, like she's seeing this creature for the first time, and like and you know like she's a fucking terrified person. Like she does a really good job of like I don't know just being like this like stoic, like Ripley like an epic character, but like you know she's a trainee in the FBI and she watches her partner's head get blown off on her first day of work. Like that would be fucking
yeah,
traumatizing. Or watching her mother explode her boss's head. You know, like
yeah.
it's like holy fuck, that would really like destroy you.
Yep. And I mean, like, they also didn't tell her what Nick Cage was doing when when she saw him in his makeup. Like, he was probably being in character and
Yeah, it's
creepy
probably
as
being
fuck.
crazy fucker. And yeah,
Yeah.
those like one thing that I took umbrage with another well, like a spooky YouTuber who covered the ARG, which did a good job, but then explained their take on the movie and why they disliked it. And like, I don't know, they're like, well, I didn't like it because Nick Cage is a campy actor, and whenever like he was just being campy, and it's like maybe a little bit, but like he was not like being campy in Long Legs, in my opinion. Like he was being like a you know like a messenger to Satan.
I mean, like, that's kind of like being like, oh, I watched Creep and I just didn't get it because the guy just seems nice.
Or like, yeah, I don't like him because he's also campy, but it's like, you know, all right, whatever, dude.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I think it's
He's
maybe
in good
people who
contrast.
haven't really met like a lot of unhinged to the degree of being scary real life people, so they don't
Yeah.
understand that like people often are kind of cringy and jokerfied when they're, you know, a little
Yeah,
unhinged.
and you know he's like Nick Cage's character Longlegs is essentially a washed up hair metal or yeah, I think it's hair metal.
Glam rock,
Glam
or
rock.
yeah,
That's the word
hair
I'm
metal.
looking for. Like a glam rock star with all these like botched surgeries who, you know, probably got into Satanism in this in well, probably the 60s because that's when the murders start. But yeah, you know,
Yeah,
before the
ex
satanic
Judas
panic
Priest
really
member, whatever, you know.
yeah. And yeah, like, you know, it kind of makes sense because those people were very theatrical. Like when he's, you know, doing his creepy little long leg song, or when he's screaming in the car after being very creepy to the young girl that works at the hardware store. Like
Yeah, like it's kind of
it
like,
works.
dude, have you met people who are who are unhinged? They're
Yeah, it
very
just
much like that.
I don't know. There's just so much I could say about Long Legs. It's honestly, in my opinion, the perfect movie. I yeah, highly rate it. There's not many other films out there that like really hit me like that one did. That really, you know, there wasn't like a lot of jump scares or anything like overtly spooky until like the very end, but it really builds up to it. And like I think some people probably had an issue with the pacing, but I think it does it well because it's not like the movie is boring. Like it's very intriguing. Like she, you know, starts deciphering the code, even though I mean essentially Longlegs just gives her the answer. But
Yeah. Well, and
it's all
I
yeah,
mean
all
it's an
really well done.
Osgood Perkins film. If you've
True.
ever watched an Osgood Perkins film, the Long Legs is the fastest paced one I've seen
Yeah,
yet. Like
that's true.
Black Coat's Daughter, um, I didn't particularly like. I did like what's it called? I'm the pretty thing that lives in these
Underneath the
walls or
stairs.
whatever.
Yeah, I think under the stairs
Um,
or something. I can't remember what
no, it's
exactly it's
like I'm
called.
the pretty thing that like lives in these halls or something like that. But that one is a movie where it is just all tension building and like literally nothing ever happens.
No.
Um, and so like knowing that that is who like directed the movie, I don't know. Sometimes it is helpful to go into things with like, or not even go into things, but afterwards you can be like, oh, it's this guy.
Yeah.
Okay, this makes total sense. It is very stylistically cogent with like what he does.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the spooky movies of 2024 that we watched. Ooh, there was another.
Some
We did watch a
honorable or
couple more.
dishonorable mentions, you could say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um.
I will start with my I mean, one of my honorable mentions was going to be Heretic because it didn't make my list, but you know we covered that. But I
Yeah.
think my most honorable one would be Trap, the M Night Shyamalan venture with Josh Hartnett, which was like, I think it was supposed to have comedy in it, but not where they intended it to. Because holy
Yeah.
fuck, that movie was so funny, and this like just blatant vehicle for nepotism. Like you know,
Oh my God.
I
Yeah.
forget
For
the
his
daughter's
daughter's
name. Like
remake.
she wasn't the worst, and like not a bad
Lady
actor.
Raven.
Lady Raven, but yeah, like oh god, like they're like yeah, she's just Ariana Grande in this like universe, and also like almost a messianic figure, like you know, like looking
Yeah.
down on the people and being like, oh, I just love everyone. It's like okay, guys, this is just kind of
It
stupid.
was pretty whack.
But yeah, and like
I
and the
think.
concept of like we somehow know this guy is gonna be at this concert and we're gonna capture one man at a concert of like thousands of people. Is like okay, okay then.
Yeah. Bizarre concept. Like absolutely divorced from any kind of reality concept.
Yeah, it's like you know it follows in the more sort of modern Shyamalan movies.
Yes.
Let me pull up a list of what his filmography has been for the last couple years here because it's
Oh
like
God.
you know his first couple movies like Unbreakable and Sixth Sense were like game changing. They really like he really flipped the script on how like movies are perceived. You know he got this trope of having crazy twists in his movie, but then you
Yeah.
know he started making things like The Village. I mean, I personally like Signs, but a lot of people really didn't fuck with it. Lady in the Water, The Happening, The Last Airbender, like four stingers in a row. Like
Yeah.
just absolutely rotten movies. The Happening is really it's like similarly to the like to Trap where it's a very like there's a lot of comedy that's unintentional because Mark Wahlberg is just really bad at acting and just is quite funny in the role. But then yeah, like After Earth with Will Smith and his child, horrible.
Oh yeah.
The Visit, which was like just it started it was didn't start, but it was in that era of like old people are scary movies.
Yeah.
And then yeah, then you know, he came out with Split, which was actually pretty fun. And then pretty much after that, like eh, nothing of note, but I am glad I watched Trap because it was fucking funny.
Yeah, I mean, I can only assume that what Trap was actually setting out to do was show that Josh Hartnett can still get it.
Hmm.
And they accomplished that, so
They
bravo.
did. Yeah. It's just it was really fun to see him in a role, especially like just acting like a crazy person was
Yeah.
so fun.
The biggest twist of the movie, I would say, was that Josh Hartnett didn't take his shirt off until like the very end.
Yeah. Still took his shirt off though. He's gotta.
Well, you can't not. I mean, the entire point of the movie is to show that he can still get
Yeah, true, true.
it.
And then yeah, for a dishonorable mention this year is a movie I kind of regret watching because I heard really good things about it. Was Late Night with the Devil, which
uh,
in general it's a fine movie. I would say you know it's it's less enjoyable than Heretic. Like it's very like paint by the numbers, but it feels like it was written by AI, and they clearly had some AI like of the stock cards for like the commercial breaks. You see it and you're like, did they seriously just use like Gen AI on this? And it killed the enjoyment for the movie for me. It's like you have all of these creative people working on this, all these artists, and you can't bother to like hire one graphic artist and just, pay them a decent wage instead of using this like horrible program that is destroying your industry. Like, who knows how long it'll be
Yeah, kind of
until
whack.
like we don't need, or like we don't need, quote unquote, the shareholders decide that they don't need real people making movies anymore because
Yeah, we don't
we're
need
getting
actors.
we're
We can just
yeah, we can just
use AI
fucking
actors,
plug in all these people because they uh gave their
and then
rights to
everything will be the
AI.
Irishman.
Yeah, yeah, like it's just it's a sign of the times that we're headed for, the dark age of creativity with all this AI bullshit. And it's like, I don't know, people have made coaching arguments maybe 3 years ago when it was new and fledgling, but we can see what like the tech bros and the ultra wealthy want to do with this technology. They don't want to make our lives better and more convenient. They want to make money better. Like that's all they care about. They want to not have to pay artists and generate video games. And it's just like, just stop. It's tiring.
Yeah, it sucks. Sucks. Sucks and sucks and sucks some more. Yeah, I don't know. I really felt that like the thing I liked about Late Night with the Devil was that it kind of had like, to me, it sort of had a vibe of like a lot of like spooky YouTube ARG or like, YouTube fiction, like
Yeah,
spooky
it was
stuff
it
that
was
I
like it
watched.
was like I think they call it like analog horror. Like it was like kind of like lo-fi, spooky. It's like it's believable found footage kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, like I don't know. My ultimate takeaway was like I'd rather go marathon like Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared.
Yeah, like I'd
Because
rather
there's
I'd rather
actually
watch
like
other shit.
full concepts in that as opposed to just like I don't know, this guy, the TV guy do devil.
Yeah, TV guy make packed with Bohemian Grove. Whoa, scary. And like that was the other thing too. Like a lot of the sort of better aspects of the movie, I'd say, kind of fell flat on their face. Like they didn't really go more into the Bohemian Grove stuff. I don't know. It didn't really hit for me. I did like seeing. I think was his name Cypher in Matrix 3.
Yes,
Yeah, it
yes.
was fun seeing him in another movie.
Yeah, what
I was
character
like
was he again?
in the
Was he
Matrix,
like the
or
like skeptical
yeah,
guy?
yeah, he was the
Yeah,
skeptic.
yeah, that was great. It's been a long time since
Yeah,
I
he
saw
was he
that
was
guy.
fun. I don't think it was Cypher
Um,
because I think Cypher was played by Tony Pants in the first Matrix. Yeah, it
uh,
was the bald guy like steak. I'm trying to remember the.
oh
Anyways,
yeah, the other guy who is evil later on.
yeah, he gets infected by Agent Smith
Yeah,
in the third one in Revolutions. I don't remember his name. Yeah, doesn't matter.
like Bane or something. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, it's something like that. Um,
Um,
did you have any
but yeah,
other honorable or dishonorable mentions?
um, probably. Oh, was that like what was that movie that we watched where it was like the family was like keeping they like murdered their own kid and like the daughter finds out. I don't know if that came out this year.
What was that?
Someone had recommended it to you, and we watched it, and we were like, "That sucked."
What was that movie called again? I don't
It
even
had
like
a
like.
Homelander in it.
Yeah, I don't think it came out this year. Let me put myself in a safe spot here and I'll try and look it up. I'm trying to remember that what that was. It was not good.
No, that sucked. If it was this year, I'd say dishonorable. dishonorable dismissal for that one.
Cobweb. That's what it was.
Cobweb,
Yeah, it
yeah.
came out in 2023. Luckily,
Oh, okay.
but yeah, that was that was just pure drivel.
I didn't love that.
Yeah, it was bad.
But
But yeah,
yeah,
I think that was
other
I
than
think that
that,
was
I think
everything.
that's everything.
Hmm.
There's a bunch of movies from this year that I haven't seen yet, like Mads, and
Yeah, I really wanted to see
that's the one that's
Mads.
about like experimental, like guy stops by at his dealer's house to try a new drug and like
Oh yeah, Into the
from
Void, but scary.
yeah, that's how it sounds from the synopsis. I don't actually know, so don't quote me on that, but that's kind
Yeah,
of
it's
the impression I was getting.
that'd be a fun one. And yeah, like there's a couple. I know there's like a Spanish speaking one that I want to watch. I think.
There's Abigail, which is another vampire one. I think it's called Abigail. Yeah.
Hmm, interesting. I haven't heard that one. But
Um,
my friends listening in, we are going to be doing a vampire movie marathon soon, watching most of if not I'm not all because there's way too many vampire movies, but we're gonna be watching all the iconic ones, and we're probably gonna do an episode on it. So maybe you'll hear our thoughts on Abigail. Watch,
yeah, you
you
can
know.
hear about the Vampathon. Oh, and I did want to see the new VHS just because, you gotta keep
Yeah,
up.
I mean the first one is pretty good, and there's some good ones in the second, but yeah, I'll watch it begrudgingly.
Yeah, Abigail. After a group of would-be criminals kidnap, oh come on, the 12-year-old ballerina daughter of a powerful underworld figure, all they have to do to collect a 50 million ransom is watch the girl overnight in an isolated mansion. The captors start to dwindle one by one, and they discover to their mounting horror that they're locked inside with no normal little girl. So I don't know. It could go either way. I'm gonna have to watch it to decide.
Yeah, we'll have to see. But yeah, those are our top 10 thus far for 2024.
What was that? Oh, right. The last thing I wanted to say about the substance was it just went on too long. Like,
Yeah,
I felt like it could have ended several times before it did.
I agree. It was like, all right.
Yeah. Like, okay. Okay. But yeah, lots of good movies. Hopefully, 2025 is another year of good movies.
Yeah, I think you know, it it's going to be if the past couple years are anything to go by, we are kind of in a golden era for I think especially like psychological thriller and horror movies.
Yeah.
Where I mean that's kind of mostly all I'm interested in now. And some dramas I don't really give a shit about action movies anymore. They're all paint by the numbers.
Yeah.
Like I
I
think
mean, usually they're not getting, accolades.
no. Well, I think the last one that really popped off for people was John Wick, and like I watched the first one. I was like, yeah, I get it. And then they made like four more or something. I was like, I don't give a shit, dude.
They gotta milk
You
it
got it.
till it dies.
I was about to say, you got to milk those cash cows when you get them, I guess.
Moo.
Yeah, thank you everyone
Moo.
for listening to the very end. If if you liked what you heard, please rate us highly. You know, sharing is caring, and we'll hear from you soon. This is Dad signing off.
Woo! Dun, 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 dun. It's dance, yay!